Good evening. Good evening. Just want to make sure. Okay, we are live. Great. All right. Just wanted to make sure we were live over here. I'm still struggling with my technical difficulties. So as always, thank you for your patience. Yes, we are a couple minutes behind schedule. Um, that's a long short story, but for another time. Anyway, good evening, good people. Welcome to another 203K Tuesday. I am your host, Aaron, the house person, and this is the place you come to find out everything you don't know about the 203K loan and learn how you can use that loan to help create, build, and sustain generational wealth. So, my guest for today is Mr. Richard Livingston of 8th Avenue LLC. He is, amongst many things, a 203K housing consultant. And if you remember from the starting lineup episode, right, your housing consultant in that lineup for me is your small forward. That's that go between, right? The person that's going to go between the contractor and you as the person who is getting the work done on your home. So give me 1 second. I'm going to bring Richard in. Richard,
Yes, sir.
how are you tonight?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. Glad to hear it. First of all, thank you for coming on the show. Um, what I like to do normally is jump right into the questions, and I do that because a lot of times some of the things that I'm going to ask you will be answered. So no, like some of the normal things you would ask at the beginning of any type of interview will be answered through the body and through answering those questions. So that's all right with you. We just hop right into it, and then on the back end, we'll talk about you, your business, and pretty much anything else real estate related.
Sure,
Cool.
sounds great. Yep.
All right. So the very first question is not where it was. The very first question is, do you know the 203K process and can you explain it?
Sure, of course I do. For the last 10 years, I've been a 2 or 3K HUD consultant. I average somewhere around 50 to 75 projects a year. Um, and basically, a 2 or 3K is a renovation loan that you can use to either renovate your existing home to add value to it, or you can use it to purchase a home that is in need of renovations. The primary purpose for the loan originally was that there were a lot of properties that were foreclosures where the margins weren't enough for a real estate investor to buy the house and flip it. But a normal person wanting to buy it could get that house at a decreased value. However, they lack the cash to go in and do a proper renovation, because the problem comes down to you wouldn't be able to get mortgage insurance on the property because it doesn't meet minimum property standards. There's properties that have all the electrical torn out, or the HVAC is missing, or it has extensive mold damage or water damage or some other thing. And a lot of them were bank owned foreclosure properties as well. So what this loan allows you to do is go in and find a house that, say you find a house that's in your school district, someplace you really want your kids to go to school, and the district doesn't have a house that you can that meets your other needs. You find all you can find is 2 and 3 bedroom houses in a neighborhood where you want to have your kids go to school. However, this house has enough lot and it's big enough that if you converted it, you could turn it into that 4 bedroom dream house that you wanted, have a brand new kitchen, brand new stove, brand new roof, put all the things into it that you wanted to, and then you could go, so your kids could go to school and you could have proximity to your job or whatever the reasons are for you looking at that house in that neighborhood. So
Okay.
basically, would you like me to walk you through the 2 or 3K process, or do you have other questions you'd like to ask me?
Definitely have other questions. And obviously, you know the process just from that intro. Another part one of second part of the first question. can people find you on the HUD consultant list?
They can. So my name is Richard Livingston. My license number is P1644. If you go to the HUD consultant, all you have to do is Google 203K consultants and it'll bring up a list and you simply put Livingston in and my name will pop up and then you can search anybody. There's dozens of guys, let me put it this way. There's dozens of guys on the list. And the problem with that list is it's very outdated. And a lot of the people that are listed in there no longer do that type of work. And especially with COVID, nobody has taken the time to go back and update that list. So it can be a little frustrating if you go through and looking for a consultant. One of the things I can tell you as well is it's not like it is when you're shopping for a realtor or somebody else who you can negotiate price with. The prices for the 203Ks are set by HUD. They're standard prices for the, and that price is based on the amount of renovation work that is being done. So whether you have me do it or another guy, it really comes down to you wanting to pick the person that you think suits you the best. Because the prices aren't going to change. The prices are all set by HUD and we all charge the exact same fees. But if you want to find me, there's two ways to do it. You go to the HUD website or you go to my personal website, www.maryland203k.com, or Google HUD Consultants and look up Livingston.
Okay, so they actually answered the second question as well, which is, what is your 203K consultant ID number? So if you can go ahead and say that again, even though.
Yeah. My license number is P1644. P as in Paul, 1644.
Okay. When were you added to the 203K consultant list? I think my screen is frozen. Richard, can you hear me? Okay.
I'm sorry, I lost you there for a second. We froze.
Yes, I did. Sorry about that. So I didn't hear your answer. So when were you added to the consultant list?
It's been more than 10 years. I don't know the exact date, but it's been more than 10 years.
Okay. All right. Now, okay, so that answers that. So how long have you been working in this business? So I guess more than 10 years.
Yes, sir. So I came in to it after the market crash in 2008, shortly thereafter.
Okay.
One of the lenders that I'd worked for and actually built his house. I was a builder for 25 years, and I actually built his house. And he asked me after the market collapsed to be his main consultant for Homebridge Mortgage. So at the time they were Remen, and he was put in charge of the 203K renovation division. And he asked me if I would be interested in becoming a consultant and working for him. And so that was my first introduction into the business.
Okay, so you said the next question is, do you have any additional credentials or certifications? And you said you've been building houses for 25 years prior to getting into the consultant business?
Yes, so I grew up around the construction business. My family, I have 18 uncles, had 18 uncles, and 11 of them were carpenters. So I was introduced into the construction business at a very young age and been around it my whole life. And I was a builder for Sturbridge Homes in Annapolis, Maryland. My boss, Michael DeStefano, is and was the president of the Maryland Home Builders Association for about 20 years. And they brought me up in a very corporate environment. Sturbridge Homes is a premier builder in Annapolis. And they run their business, they run it as a very corporate structure, meaning a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of professionalism, big offices, you know, a very corporate way of doing things. staff meetings every week and, things like that. And so I learned how to build homes in a very professional way. We competed with guys like Pulte and Patriot Homes and, all the major builders in the industry. And after I left them, I began, I was asked if I would come to Timberlake Homes to start a renovations division for them. They were already a big PG County builder, and they saw that the renovations were going to come really big. And so they stole me away from from Sturbridge, asked me if I would come on board with them to start a renovations company. Did that for about 5 years, and then I was offered a vice presidency for another builder. And then after the market crash in 2008, I decided I wanted to kind of get out and shift my career, and I became a HUD consultant. I also hold all of the credentials. I'm a licensed B1 building inspector. A B1 certification allows me to be a building inspector in any county, state, or township in the country from here to California. So basically, any county that you live in, I could walk in tomorrow and become a building inspector in that county. I've been offered several jobs at Baltimore, Anne Arundel, and other counties, but I decided to stay on my own doing this because it's really my passion. I'm also a licensed home inspector, and I'm a DC mold inspector as well. I also hold certifications in mold abatement and lead abatement and lead inspection. I also do my own water inspections. So basically, when you call me out to do your inspection on your house, I can also do your home inspection. I can do your lead, your water, your mold. And then the other thing with that is I'm not just an inspector, but I also write the protocols for the general contractor. So if I go into a house and it has a mold problem, I don't just document that the house has a mold problem and it needs to be fixed. I actually can write the mold remediation protocol for the contractor that states what kind of machines to use, how much negative air pressure needs to be in the house, the cleaning methods. And I can do that for the lead and for the mold so that the contractor has a real grasp of exactly what's going on. Because the problem that you run into when you have houses like this, a lot of them do have mold or lead problems. And the problem with the mold is some of the contractors don't have the experience. You might find a guy who's a great builder, but he really doesn't have the experience in cleaning mold. And so what happens is a lot of these guys end up either not knowing how to do it, so that it kind of scares them a little bit, or they feel like they have to subcontract it all out, and then they're not making the money because they're subbing it all out. But by me writing the mold remediation protocols for them, it helps them have a much better grasp of exactly what's going to happen and the cost involved and the profit they're going to make. So it goes a long way towards me helping them. The point of all of those things is at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the house that the people are moving into are free of contaminants, and the house is like a brand new home, and that all of the things like environmental conditions have all been tested to make sure that everything in the house is done correctly. And in today's environment, the other thing we do is I always include a COVID remediation protocol at the end of the job. So we have specialized COVID companies that come in and clean the house top to bottom to make sure that the place has been properly sanitized prior to the homeowners moving into the home.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
What I just heard was you are hired by the client to help them through the process. But in addition to that, in order to better help the client, you make sure that the contractor is knowledgeable about whatever said jobs need to happen in order to complete the overall job.
That's correct. I would say that the difference between me and some other guys, and I don't know how a lot of other men consultants do their thing. I only know from my experience with contractors and in general is that I probably take as many phone calls from contractors as I do from homeowners. They call me all the time, even on jobs where they aren't doing a 203K. They'll call me because everybody knows that my phone is always on and then they can always call me anytime. And so these guys, after working with me from different jobs, will call me and ask me, I don't know what I'm doing with this and this. What do you think I should do? Or how much do you think I should be charging? Or what will it cost? Or, they ask me for direction and advice about it. And that's one of the things that I think is very important in this business, is that you treat the contractors as a client, not as that they're important. And you want to make sure that they enjoy the experience as well, because it's very important to make sure that everybody who's doing this is having a good experience with it, so that um, people, I think you get a better product when everybody is enjoying the experience. And I think overall, that's what we want.
Okay. How many 203K inspections would you say you've completed in your 10-year period? Roughly.
So a 203K consists of multiple inspections. So one 203K job consists of the initial, a lot of times what happens is a client can do what's called a feasibility study. An initial feasibility study is where I come in and I meet with the client, and it's a house they're looking at, but they have absolutely no idea how much it's going to cost or what it's going to take to get this thing where they want it. And we walk through the house, and I tell them while we're walking through the house where I think their ballpark numbers need to be for what they think they're going to do. Then they put an offer on the house based on that feasibility study. You also get it in writing, but you get an idea. We walk through and they go, okay, it's going to cost $80,000 to get what you want in this house. And then I'll give them a breakout of, not a specific breakout, but kitchen's going to be this, the roof will be this much, the foundation work is this, and that kind of thing. It's just a general feasibility study for it. And then they can make a decision on whether they want to go forward. Once they do that, they say, yeah, we want to go forward, Rick, they call me up. And then I'll complete the initial inspection. I go back out to the property, and we spend about 2 hours doing the inspection. If they have me do the home inspection as well, then I do that as well. So the whole thing takes about 3 to 4 hours. If there's other testing that I need to do, it's usually more than enough time in a 3 to 4 hour period to run all the tests and collect samples. Then after the job gets started, there's 5 bank inspections, 5 draw inspections for the contractor. So every house that I go to, I probably do 8 to 10 physical inspections on every job. And I do 50 projects to 75 projects every year. So that's what, 10, so 500 times 10, probably 5,000, about 5,000 inspections probably over the last 10 years. And that doesn't include home inspections or lead or mold inspections that I do outside of my 203K work, because I do them as well. I do about 35 or 40 home inspections a year, and I probably do 20 or so mold inspections, and then probably about 15 to 20 or 30 lead inspections a year outside of the 2 or 3K business.
Okay. So you touched on feasibility study. Do you use a third-party software, or do you create your own feasibility study from?
No, I use third-party software. The work that I use is, the software I use is renovationlendingsoftware.com. These guys, so one of my specialties too is I'm very good at computer diagnostics when it comes to beta testing software. So I have I've beta tested 2 or 3K software for about 6 different companies. Basically, when they were doing their ground startup, they would bring me in, give me the software for free for a year, and then ask me to beta test it for them. And then I would write them, feedback and give them some idea what they were lacking and what, the things that weren't working for them. And I settled with this one because their system works online, and some of the systems do and don't work online. Some of them are static that only work on your laptop, and some of them haven't brought themselves into the way things are done nowadays. Everything is online, DocuSign and Zoom meetings and Facebook Live and all these and they haven't followed along with it. So these guys do everything online. So the thing that is a true benefit for that is I do jobs that are as far as 140, 175 miles from home. I travel all the way to Richmond and Ocean City, Maryland. I live in Annapolis. So I'll travel 2.5, 3 hours to projects sometimes. And, I might need to go sit at Starbucks to finish up my paperwork. And you can't do that with a software that's proprietary. I need to make sure that that software is acceptable. And the other thing is that in order to keep the projects moving, one of the biggest things that's lacking in the business is that consultants take way too long processing the draws. My draws are done on site the day of the inspection. Either the people sign it while they're there with me on my laptop, or they get sent out a DocuSign. As soon as I walk out the door, I go out to my truck, I send it to a DocuSign to everybody. I forward directly to emails directly to the lender, and we make sure that that draw has been received and is getting processed. And that falls back on my experience from working with Sturbridge, because my boss always said, we don't do set it and forget it here. We don't just send out an email and then just assume everybody got it. We send an email, then we make a phone call to make sure that they got the email and that everything is good to go and that they're ready to process that draw.
Wow. So and folks, the importance of that is because time is money. So the faster you can get things done, typically the less expensive it's going to be. So the fact that he said he can do it right there on the spot, or you sign on the spot, or you get an email a couple minutes later and get that signed, means the process is being sped up and can move along, saving you some money. So that's very important.
The other reason that it's very important is the contractor only has 6 months to complete that project, right? So if he's doing everything he can, but he comes back and says, I haven't gotten a check for 3 weeks, and he's struggling to keep ahead of the thing, then it creates a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And now the bank is upset that at the end of the 6 months, they're still, they're 2 months behind on the project. Well, they're 2 months behind because the people that were sending the checks in, the draw paperwork, were sending it in too slow, or the people who were in the draw department, they didn't have somebody following up with them to say, hey guys, where's my check? We need to follow up on this. And that's where I excel, because I've known these people for a long time, and they hate when they see my phone on their caller ID, because they know I'm calling to try to get, make sure that these things are moving along. And even though that's my job. It's not that's the difference between me and the other guys, is that's not really my job. Most consultants send the paperwork in and that's it. That really is the limit of their responsibility. Me, I want to see the things getting done and everybody happy. So I take the extra time to make sure that things are moving along.
I love it. I love it. That's, again, just creating that overall enjoyable experience for whoever the owner or future owner is. And just the construction period or construction process in general can kind of have some hiccups. So anyone on board with doing what they can to try to smooth things out as they go, or even prior to, that's just a blessing to have around, because things going to happen. So the more you can, hedge your bets and get things taken care of beforehand, that's great. That's great. And then, like I said, time is money. So keeping that thing going, keeping that engine oiled up, that's what you want to do.
It makes the contractors are put in, and everybody is put into the position of gratitude. So that contractor, I can't tell you how many times they would call me up and say, thanks so much for helping me with this, and thank you for getting in there and doing that. And I know, I really appreciate you, helping me out and making sure that we got that check, man. And we really needed that help. And so when I go back to the job on the next draw and I'm doing something and I say, hey, look, man, I really just want you to take care of this thing for me. Can you just fix these things and just let's take care of this and move on? And they're like, sure, Mr. Rick, no problem. We'll take care of it. You know what I mean? Because it's a reciprocal thing.
Exactly. One hand washing the other, just help take care of each other. I love it. So what would you say is the most complicated 203K that you consulted on?
I have a lot of contracts where there's several banks that call me to come in and rescue 203Ks that have gone astray. Caliber Homes is one of them. Homebridge is another one of them. These guys are certain loan officers in those banks. Typically, they're either the senior loan officers or the actual head of the entire national division. These people will call me and say, look, Rick, we got a job that's just falling apart. It's a mess. Things aren't getting done for whatever reason. Things weren't done the right way. Things like that. The job has been going on for a year. We can't seem to close it out. Things like that. So they'll call me and ask me to go in there and take over for whatever consultant was running the job at the time and try to rescue that project. And almost always with these projects, it's almost always the reason is that the SOR, which is your scope of work, that's the paperwork that I write for the job, was not written correctly. It was too vague and it was left open to misunderstandings. It would have a statement in there that says, renovate kitchen, $10,000. And the homeowner says, well, we were supposed to get tile backsplash, under cabinet lighting. We were supposed to get crown molding. And then the contractor said he wanted an additional $3,000 for that. But he told us it was included in the loan, but it wasn't in the paperwork. So he didn't have to do it. And he wanted to take money out of the change order. So we got into a big fight and we fired him. And then the job sat for months and months while they went through arbitration and they argued and they fought and it went back and forth. And then the bank called me and said, well, what's the problem, Rick? And I said, the problem is that the scope of work was written too vaguely and that nobody knew what was really supposed to be happening in this job. And that's the difference between myself and some other guys that do this, is that the way that these 203Ks are supposed to be done, the consultant is supposed to write the scope of work for the job without the help of a contractor. So when I go in, I write the SOR without the help of the contractor, and then the contractor fills in the prices based on my scope of work. The problem that a lot of guys started doing is they would get very lazy and they would say, well, I'm not doing anything until you send me the contractor's estimate. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be done. You're supposed to do the SOR without the contractor's help. And so what happened is they would have the contractor send it over in a Word document and they would just copy and paste the language right out of the guy's estimate right into the SOR and then send it off for as a scope of work. And almost always that's what happens. It was always a poorly written scope of work, or the consultant not having the wherewithal. A lot of the consultants came into the business as home inspectors. I came as a builder. So the difference is I know what it's like to lose $20,000 on a job. So I know the difference between, the difference between painting a house with eggshell and 5 semi-custom colors and painting the entire house out of shell white flat. And I know the difference in the struggles that you have in an old house. I live in Annapolis. We have houses that are over 200 years old here. We have houses that I've gone into that we had to have windows custom made that cost $8,000 a window. And those kind of things can really throw a job off if you don't have people who are used to working in historic districts and things like that. And so 9 times out of 10, it's just a poorly written scope of work. And so typically what happens is I have to go back in, help the people address what is really going on. A lot of times they end up having to limit their scope and remove things from the scope of work in order to get the house closed out, or they have to go back to the lender and try to refinance to take more money out to finish the project. So it's never a good experience. It's almost always, I don't want to say it again, but it leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth at the end, and they think that the program didn't work for them. But that's why it really comes down to having the right consultant.
Okay. And you hit the nail right on the head, because like I tell you folks, the consultant is your swingman, the person between you and the contractor. And as Richard just said, they're supposed to do their job first, separate from the contractor, and then give the contractor their report, and the contractor works off of that versus the other way around. So that's why it's very important you have the right people on your team to ensure that you have as seamless and worry-free of a process as possible. So Richard is definitely one of those people. Last question, which I already know the answer to because you answered it earlier, but for someone that says, hey, Richard, you got any clients past or present that I can call, your answer would be what?
Sure, of course you can. You can go on my website, maryland203k.com. There's testimonials on there. If you want to reach out to me, you can go find me on my website, maryland203k.com. And there's a contact link on there. We just send me an email, and I'm happy to send you an arm's length list of people that are currently doing projects with me, that people I've done in the past, and half a dozen lenders that you can read. I probably worked for 15 different lenders, and I worked for all the major ones. And most of the major lenders that I work for, I deal directly with the vice president of the renovation division or the president of the renovation division. And they're the ones that usually reach out to me. I do have several loan officers that are independent guys that reach out to me on a consistent basis. But I have a lot of relationships. Part of it was because of my experience as a builder, and my role as a builder from when I was building new homes. I built about 400 single family homes and condos, townhouses, the village of Wachapel and Crofton. I built a lot of really big projects. So I spent a lot of time working with really big lenders and a lot of big money guys from back in the day. So a lot of those guys have transitioned into the renovations division because this 203K thing has just blown up. So a lot of the guys that I know were loan officers back in the 90s, and now they're all presidents and vice presidents of some of these large corporations. So I do have an inside track with a lot of these guys that I'm able to reach out to when I need something. So it's once again a reciprocal relationship where they know they can count on me to help them out, and at the same time, if I need a little help or something, I can call them to get a loan. I call them and say, "Look, your draw department's taking too long. You're holding my loan up." And they go, "All right, Rick, no problem. I'll give them a call. We'll get it straightened out."
And that's definitely a good position to be in for the client. That's
Of
actually a great
course.
position. So now, while we're on the builder piece, when we spoke earlier, you mentioned that, or you showed me rather, that you have another skill set that you can add to what you already do, and that is the renderings that you do.
That's correct. So I'm a draftsman as well. Um, one of the first jobs that I had as a builder, especially for Timberlake, was my job was to go in and redline plans. So any blueprints or anything that was any kind of drawings or blueprints that came into the office on a job or a bid that came from an independent architect or draftsman, my job was to go in and point all the things out in the blueprints that were wrong. And they didn't like that very much. But I came from that, that was my background. For 3 years, that's all I did. I sat at a desk and I redlined the plans and said, this isn't going to work, or this thing's too small, or this perspective isn't correct, or these numbers are wrong. The refrigerator is not going to fit in that space because you forgot to add the baseboard and the trim when you put your calculation in there, and now the hole's too small. And that's old school of hard knocks education. I also am a self-taught draftsman. So one of my specialties is not just drafting, but it's spatial planning. So what happens is when I go out to the job, the homeowner can use anybody they want. They don't have to hire me to do it. There's lots of guys who can do it for them. A lot of times contractors will provide them. A lot of times people will call me and say, look, I've already got a contractor. He already wrote me an estimate and he already has a set of plans that he did. Okay, great. Then we'll work with that. And this is the guy. We don't want to look at other bids. We just want to work with this guy. He built our house. We know him. We just want to work with this guy. I'm like, great. That's no problem at all. I would still always encourage a person to get at least 3 bids, regardless of the relationship that they had. But it's their money. It's not for me to tell them, no, you can't use this guy. So what will happen is they can do that. A lot of times what happens is, but if you're going to do a renovation, you're going to add an addition, you're going to do a large scale renovation or any kind of renovation where you're taking down walls inside the home, then we have to have a drawing or a sketch of some kind to provide to the appraiser so that he can put um, uh, a proper value on the renovations that are being done. You can't just say, I'm going to add 3 bedrooms. Well, how big are the bedrooms? Are they 10 by 12s? Or, I've had clients call me and say, well, we want to put 3 bedrooms on the 3rd floor. And I said, well, what size bedrooms? I don't know, whatever you can fit up there. Well, the appraiser's not able to put a value on that. So what happens is I can go in. Typically, most floor plans cost around $1,500 for an initial floor plan. I'll draw and design the house for them, and then we have a Zoom meeting where I show them the different aspects and the ideas that I came up with. And that all comes based on my experience and also me talking to the homeowner. What is it that you're trying to get out of this thing? Why are you buying this house? What is it that you're trying to do? Well, I have 2 kids and we have a baby on the way, and I run my home office out of the house, and whatever those reasons are. I've had a lot of them where the big thing now is a lot of people that want 1st floor live-in additions for a relative. Mom has gotten older, they want her to come live with them.
Yes,
We want a 1st floor unit. Now, part of that, my experience too, is that I'm ADA certified. So I did a lot of work on the Village of Whitechapel and Gambrills. I was a construction manager when they built all the retirement, the over 55 and over residences in the back of Village of Whitechapel. So I know what it takes to have, the proper door widths, the proper shower thresholds, emergency service, pull chains next to the bed, all those kind of things that we can build it indiscreetly so that it still acts like a beautiful home, but it's made so that your aging mother-in-law can come and live with you, but also have her own kind of separate space where it's hers. We put in pocket doors so that she can kind of go and do her own thing when she wants to do it in her own little space out back, and those kind of things. And so I'll go through and I'll do the initial design, then we'll do a Zoom meeting where I actually put all the furniture in the house. And a lot of times, especially with the seniors, I'll have the mother-in-law tell me, what pieces of furniture are you trying to bring into the house? And they'll have a hutch or a bed. I have this 4-post bed that me and my husband slept in for 20 years or whatever it is. And I'll have them actually send me the measurements. And then I'll create an object that's exactly that size and put it in the room so that when I show the drawing to everyone and a 3D rendering on the computer, they can actually see what their house is going to look like. How big is your bed? Do you have a king size bed with 2 big nightstands? Well, go measure it for me, and then tell me what the size is. And they tell me, and I put it in so that everybody can see that it's, the last thing you want to do is have the house all done, and then you start to move the furniture in and realize that the bed is set 3 feet from the wall and you can't even get by.
Right.
Or the favorite piece of your china cabinet that your great grandmother gave you, it won't fit the dining room because they put the windows too close together. So we try to make sure that those things are done. After those drawings, the initial drawings are done, we attach them to the SOR. We send them to the bank so that the appraiser has a really. One of the things that happens that hold jobs up is when the job goes from me writing the SOR to a ratification with your contractor on the pricing. We send it back to the bank. Then they call for the appraisal. The thing that holds jobs up is when the appraiser gets to the house and he has no idea what all this paperwork is supposed to mean, or there's something in there that he doesn't understand. So what happens is he stops everything, goes back, sends a bunch of emails, puts the paperwork in a pile on his desk that's 3 feet tall already. And then everything kind of slows down and gets bogged. And now there's multiple copies of the paperwork and that's what slows things down. I don't get calls back from appraisers. I haven't had a call back from an appraiser in probably 8 years. I made all my mistakes early in the business and they don't call me anymore because I know the things they're going to look for. I know the questions that they're going to ask. And I try to paint them a picture so that no matter what appraiser goes out there, he'll have absolutely no idea. He'll have an absolute idea how to add, where the value in the home is going to be and exactly what's going on. So he knows how big the rooms are, where the living room is. He gets a very good plan. And so that is a big part of it. And then what happens afterwards is the plans, the big thing, one of the big things about that is that fee, that $1,500 fee, and the fee that you pay me from the work write-up can be included as part of the allowable fees section of your 203K, so that it can be credited back to you on your HUD-1 statement. So what that means is, if you paid me $3,000 and the bank said, come to settlement with 10 grand, instead they're going to say, bring 7 grand and a receipt from Rick for $3,000. So it's a credit on your, it's a credit towards your closing costs. You can also include the credit towards your closing costs if you're using the consultant for the lead testing, for the water testing, for the home inspection, and for all of those other services. After the project is completed and they go through settlement, not completed, but after they go through settlement, if you want me to do the full set of drawings, the permitted set of drawings, which show all the elevations and the footers and all that kind of stuff, I can do that. If not, and the contractor wants to use his own people, he can do that as well. At the end of the day, the contractor is responsible for the plans and the permits. Sometimes they call me and they say, Rick, we want you to do the plans. Sometimes they say, we got our own guy we've been working with for years, or we got an in-house guy. We'll go ahead and take it from here. And that's fine. But that initial set of drawings gives everybody a really good direction and gives them an idea what's really going on. Plus, I do it all in a 3D rendering as well, so that everybody can see it in a 3D model.
So I want to go back to something you said. You mentioned the parent who maybe want to recreate space on the main level because, again, those stairs are maybe just too cumbersome for them, but they don't want to leave their house. One of the things I've been telling a lot of people, one of the biggest things that people don't know, misconception, is that the 203K loan is strictly for buying a home to renovate. However, this platform is to educate people. So I've been letting them know that if grandma's in the home, granddaddy's in the home, and again, those stairs are too much for them, you can recreate their space where they have their own area on the main level. So you touching in on that, that was very powerful. And again, the renderings you do, well, I think it's better if we just show them. What I would like to do is I'm going to promote you to host, so you can go ahead and share your screen. All right, so I think you should have the power now. Let me know if you don't.
Yep, I have it.
All right.
Okay. Okay, are you looking at the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a project that I'm currently drawing. Some of these have some personal photos in it. I apologize.
No worries.
Rats. I think I moved out of the way. I'm sorry. Okay. This is a small Cape Cod. This Cape Cod, I really wanted to show you the picture of it too. I apologize. Okay, there you go. All right. This is a small Cape Cod. You see the photograph I'm showing right here. Okay. This house is very small. It's only a 30 by 30 home. Okay. The rooms are very small. The bedrooms are very small. They've got 4 people living in this house, a mother, a father, and 2 teenage kids. One's in middle school and one is in high school. The kids are in the small Cape Cod bedrooms upstairs. Now this room is Dad's room. He collects wrestling memorabilia. They've got a very small kitchen. The house was built in 1956. They decided that they wanted to go ahead and use it to a 3K. The budget for this house is $160,000. Okay. They wanted to take this house and add an addition on the back and try to improve on this house. So I put now this is only a 12-foot addition that I put on the back. It's 12 by 30 addition that I put on the back. They're going to get a new kitchen with a big kitchen island, a nice family room, and an open floor concept. A master bedroom for their mom and dad on the first floor. And they wanted to get it because they wanted an age and place renovation. But what that means for people who haven't heard that term, age in place renovation means that you're 58, you're going to retire from your job in 5 years, and this is going to be for your forever house. And you might have to live, you want to live here the rest of your life. And so as you get older, this house will accommodate you so that you don't have to sell your house and move someplace else. So they wanted everything on their portion of the home. As the kids move out, they wanted to be able to live on the first floor. So we put in a nice big bathroom for them with a walk-in shower. Mom wanted a nice big soaking tub, powder room, and what we did is this, in the original drawing, was a living room to one side and a dining room to the other. I shut off the door and added an access door from this side, and now we call this a guest bedroom. So now this house was a 3-bedroom with 2 small 10 by 12 bedrooms on the second floor with low ceilings, which gives you almost no value really. Now this house is a 5-bedroom house with 2.5 baths for $160,000. And they're getting a beautiful product. Then on the second floor, we're using this space that is in the front is actually the existing 2 bedrooms that were here. I just pulled the wall back 5 feet so that it gave it a bigger space. Now these rooms are 14 by 16. It has its own shared bath for the kids upstairs.
Jack and Jill. Yep.
And then a nice family room area for the kids upstairs. They have a TV, their nice hangout area. They got a nice desk, and then a lot of windows. That way the kids have their own spot upstairs where they can go hang out and do their thing. And now let me show you the house as a 3D model.
I like that.
So this is the same house. Now I haven't drawn the roof on the home yet, but this is the same house. So now they have a nice
Come on, Aaron. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. I froze.
It's going to praise for a lot more money than it would have if we had not called that room downstairs a bedroom.
Very true.
Yeah.
Wow. This is I really like this.
So like this room upstairs where I have this other bedroom, the bedroom in the front is actually not going to be a bedroom. It's going to be Dad's room for all of his trophy memorabilia.
Right.
And
Yep.
he gets his own spot in his own room where he gets to put his own stuff and he can shut the door and tell the kids to get out. This is my spot. And Mom is thrilled because she doesn't have to walk by the front door when she comes and her guests come in and everybody doesn't see all of that. Relax and enjoy themselves. This entire renovation is being done for $160,000.
So how much influence did they just
Your
tell you?
audio cut out.
Oh, can you hear me now? Oh, can you hear me? Richard. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
No, your audio cut out.
Oh, I mean, you can hear me now, right? No? Oh, let's see. Hold on. Richard? Still can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. No, I gotta call Verizon. This is okay. So how much influence did you have on that that design? Did they just tell you, hey, this is what I'm kind of thinking, and you just ran from there and said, okay, here you go?
I did. They just gave it to me and I just ran with it. And
Okay.
you know, there's a lot of tricks. I mean, that's a big addition. That's a lot of value for $160,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody who looked at it would think that was a $250,000 renovation. But there's a lot of things that you can do in a renovation if you have a lot of experience from this end of it, being able to implement those things into the design itself without anybody else noticing what you did. One of the things is stacking bathrooms, putting bathrooms on top of each other so that you save money on the plumbing cost, right? all of this space in the front of the house on the first and second floor remains unchanged. None of the framing has changed. The only thing we did was closed up a couple of doors and moved one wall back. And from that, we gained 3 big bedrooms from just a small, that's about $2,500 worth of work. And we gained 3 big bedrooms out of $2,500 worth of work. So that allows us to spend the balance of their money on no other items. If they had taken this project to up to $190,000, which they're still considering, we're going to add a craftsman style front porch, a 10 by 15 deck in the back, and a driveway. So that's kind of on them. They're going to decide. They said, if we don't do it now, we don't do it now. We'll probably do what we're doing now and then do a cash out refi in 3 years, just pay cash for it. So you'll probably be hearing from us in another year or 2. So I get a lot of clients who call me back years later because of the value in the house. They all of a sudden their house has equity in it. And 3 years later, they call me and tell me they got a $30,000 line of credit account. They want to go ahead and put that big hot tub and jacuzzi in the back, and I get the call. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. I love the renderings as well. I mean, because for most people, what I found is they don't necessarily have the vision, and no slight against them, but that it's difficult. But by you providing not only the regular flat version, but the 3D version as well, that can then, and you drop in the furniture, and it's like a little girl playing with a dollhouse again. But it allows you to really see the space that you'll be living in once the job is complete. So that's amazing. I really love that.
Yeah, this homeowner, the last time she called me, she wouldn't stop crying. She had to call me back. She was so excited.
Wow. I
She said, I got to call you back.
I complete, because once she saw those pictures, that rendering, that
she couldn't
put her in the house.
She couldn't believe it. She was just so ecstatic. I mean, she's living in a very dated old 1950s, house, and this house is not only going to get that renovation, it's also going to have the value of a new hot water system, a new furnace, a new roof, new siding. Everything in the house is going to be brand new. Yeah. The other thing they can do is with the 203Ks, they can roll mortgage payments into your loan. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big deal, because now these people they added 6 months of mortgage payments to their loan. So basically what that means is the loan will pay the rent for 6 months while the house is under construction, and they're going to go rent a furnished house to live in while the construction is going to be going on. They're renting a house in their neighborhood that's already furnished, that they just have to move a couple of blocks from the house, and they can still come by every afternoon and see it, but they don't have to live through the construction.
I love it. That's great. That is fantastic. Well, Richard, we actually went into overtime, but it was great information. I appreciate everything that you shared today. Again, I know a lot of folks are going to see those renderings, and your phone is already ringing off the hook, but you may just get quite a few more calls just off of that alone.
Yes, sir.
But for those who are looking for you, we know that your website is maryland203k.com, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and if they wanted to call you or email you, how would they do that? Or just go to the website?
Just go to the website. It'll drive you towards me. All my contact information is on there.
Okay, so maryland203k.com is how you get in touch with Mr. Richard Livingston from 8th Avenue LLC. He is not just a 203K consultant. He is much, much more than that. And if you didn't catch that throughout this video, I think one conversation with him, and you'll see that this is a great person to work with. So again, Richard, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you for sharing your information and knowledge with the folks out here, because again, we don't know. And this loan, this program is just so powerful if used properly, right? If you just come find out what you don't know and hook up with people like you, sky's the limit. So
it can literally make your dreams come true.
Exactly. So again, thank you, Richard. You guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next 203K Tuesday. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell. Thanks for watching.